I'm not against medications. I think there's a time and a place, and there's, people need medications, but I don't think they should be our first line of defense. Let's look at other areas in your life and let's try this, this, and this. And if we're not fixing it in a certain amount of time, or if somebody comes to me and they're, psychotic, I'm not going to give them a supplement. I might stabilize them with some medications and then say, okay, now that you're stable, let's look at some other areas.
All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. This is your first time here. I'm Blair Armstrong of Team Armstrong, Coldwell Banker. I'm a global luxury specialist in the world of residential real estate. And you have just found, well, if this is your first time here, you just found the best podcast you've never heard before. We are Old Guys Still Rock, better known as OGSR. We have a big plate. Usually I give a long introduction, but we're going to get right into it. But on my left, possibly your right, is the other host of this show, Brent Wright of Brent Wright Incorporated. He's actually about 1,000 miles away from me right now in beautiful Eugene, Oregon. But most of all, if you really want to know most of us, there's 126 other episodes. You can go back and check us out and really get into it. We have a super special guest. She's sitting on my left, Deb Bennett. I don't even know where to begin with this. So I'm going to give her the mic. We're going to run right into it. We're going to peel back the onion today. But the last two episodes, episode number 124 and 125 and 126, we talked about, are you addicted to losing? Now, with this great thing that as soon as Deb Bennett comes on here today, she's an addiction specialist. So we're going to really peel back. She's in a transition of not only career, but life, going to some tool things. So how the hell are you? Plus, I've known you forever. I've known you for almost 7 years now. I would think it's been around that time, believe it or not.
I think bought the house and moved up here in 2019.
Yeah.
So right around there.
So 6 years about that. So anyway, who's Deb Bennett? How do you know what's going on with you? How did you get to, as I said, we talked about addiction specialist. You have a better title than that. Kind of fill us in where you came from. What are you doing?
Okay. Well, I'll start professionally.
Yeah.
I am a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner. I have worked in psych and mental health and addiction for 20 something years now. Kind of my whole career has been on the road and dealing with very high profile clients and keeping them well enough to stay in the public eye. That's what I'd say. If somebody was struggling from substance use, but if they're in the middle of filming or on a tour, they can't just stop and go into rehab. So we would create a team, we'd move on the road with them, and we'd pretty much just medicate them so they could continue to do what they need to do.
You said something, and Brent, we've talked about this too. When we were kind of pre-interview with her, she was the Band-Aid.
Yes.
You were the Band-Aid to kind of, there was a massive scar underneath that Band-Aid, but you kept everything put together and held together just so they were in that public eye or the high profile, whatever situation they were in. Now I know that you have some NDAs and stuff like that. We're not going to get into that. But anyway, so I just find this very interesting. If you guys have watched our past episodes in the past, we're very faith-based. Brent and I are very faith-based on here. So I feel that this opportunity that we get with you today is going to help a lot of people, because I think that you had a transition. When we first started talking a while back, and you kind of exposed your new plan on Facebook and Instagram of kind of some different things of what you want to do on there. I think God, again, not knowing your faith on that, which is regardless of that God is like, I need you to go a different route, and because I need you to actually help people instead of being a Band-Aid. So Brent, before that, I don't want to cut you out here. I know you have a lot of questions. Do you have anything from there?
Just a comment so far. When you were doing the intro, the place I went was kind of like the intro for Dr. Drew and Adam Carolla. Like I'm an addiction medicine specialist and all those things. And I kind of I'm excited to see where this goes, because I think you can offer a lot to our listeners and to us as well. I'm going to keep a little quiet today comparatively. I want to hear more. I want to I don't know if you listened to our last 2 episodes or looked at them, but I'd love to get some feedback, some opportunities where we can help people.
Yeah.
It was interesting for me because at the time, I mean, of course, I was passionate about what I was doing, and I really felt I was making a difference. Without me, they wouldn't be able to be on the road. They wouldn't be able to continue doing. But then I started looking at it, and it's like I was telling Blair earlier. It was good and bad because I was the Band-Aid. I kept them going. I medicated them. I helped them, but they were always reoccurring clients. And it's like, well, these are people that money was not an issue. They could afford the best care, the best medications, the best doctors, somebody with them 24/7. And I still wasn't helping them heal. And that's where the Band-Aid came. It was like, I was the Band-Aid so they didn't get an infection,
Right.
And then I was involved in a very high profile case that really just made me look at everything kind of, I'm burnt out trying to help these people, and I'm really not making a change, yet I'm sacrificing myself. So my sister and my brother-in-law, who Blair knows, they're very into mastermind groups, and they're like, just find somebody to help you change this path. So I got on social media and I found this amazing lady who I didn't really understand what she did, but her social media told me she was going to help me, work less and make a bigger difference. So I paid a lot of money at the time and I joined this mastermind group, and it was filled all females with doctors, nurses, nurse practitioners, PAs that were all changing their practice into functional medicine. And here I am, 16 years in psychiatry, and I had to get off and Google what is functional medicine. Not that I'd like to admit that, but so I showed up every week, and most of the people had gone the route of functional medicine from personal experiences. They weren't feeling right. They knew something was off, yet their conventional doctors were either just giving them medications or telling them, all your labs are within normal limits, you're fine. And they knew they were not. So they all came in, most of them, into this practice by personal experiences. And once they found somebody who really listened and dug a little deeper, they were able to heal themselves. So I started to think like, wow, how can this tie into mental health and even addiction? And found this amazing doctor out of Boston who's he calls himself a nutritional psychiatrist. And then I found this other doctor that he actually trained under some of the creators of these functional labs. And it all clicked with me. It's like, when we suffer from anxiety, depression, cravings, it's medication, 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 but nobody goes, why are we feeling this way? What can we look at? And everything I'd been taught for 16 years was blown away. Like, oh my gosh, there are labs we can draw. They're not your typical CBC, CMP, look at your kidney functions, look at your blood levels. We can check biomarkers. We can check nutritional deficiencies. We can look at brain inflammation. And these are caused by, ongoing viruses, genetic mutation where you're not converting your nutrients properly. So even if you're like, I eat salmon every day, I do everything right, but I still don't feel good. Well, there's a reason why. And so in addiction, we have AA, we have, detox, we have therapy, we can help you with your trauma. But who's looking at what these substances have done to your body? And if you don't replenish your deficiencies, you're going to continue to feel anxious, depressed, and cravings. Blood sugar is huge. If your blood sugar is going up and down, you're having cravings. So what do? You eat a little more protein. We check, your glucose. Like, it's really easy once we can look at why your body's causing these symptoms. We actually can heal you rather than just medicate you.
You said a couple things as we've talked about the past couple of weeks, and I go back to this. Over the last couple of weeks, we've talked about people who are saying, well, my dad did this, or my mom was this, and this is just part of our DNA, or this is just part of our life. So my plot of life has already been determined. What I'm hearing you say with this functional medicine is that, yes, there could be a case to that, but that could really be passed on through DNA, it's this ongoing problem. Like, well, I'm supposed to take Lexapro or some sort of drug or so ADD medicine or some heart rate medicine because my family has this history of this. And so this problem, what I'm hearing you say, and correct me if I'm wrong with this, and Brent, you're probably going to want some questions on this, is that we're making a problem that could actually stop the generational gap of maybe obesity or depression or all of these things if we just stopped and really looked what's going on inside. Because they're just like, well, I'm overweight because of this, this, and this. So you're going to be overweight because of this and this. Is that what you're like 16 years and all of a sudden the veil has been lifted from your eyes? You're like, holy.
Yeah.
Once in a while, by the way, since we don't have any sponsors or advertisers, we can swear on the show. So if an F-bomb drops out, we're not going to get bleeped. But anyway, so is that what you're saying of that? Because we grew up in this time, taking aspirin for this, go ahead and do this. Now all these different obviously, which you're going to get into a little bit later, but there are a lot better ways to actually solving the issue instead of putting a Band-Aid on the issue. Yeah. So, Brent, any questions before she runs with this?
Well, a couple of things. In one of the masterminds, which I was kind of smiling, raising my hand, I've been used those to get ahead. I've been victimized by those as well. I say victimized being they take money, don't provide you with value, things like that. So that's kind of what got me into the coaching. And doing this podcast was I'm trying to break some cycles as well. I got to spend half a day, a group of us, about 800 of us, got to spend the day with Jordan Peterson, who is just a tremendous individual, first off. And secondly, he started looking at things similar to you as what are the triggers? What is really causing these issues? What is causing these psychological issues and psychosis and things like that? And asking him questions. It was basically a 4 to 6 hour Q&A with Jordan Peterson. Tremendous opportunity. So I can't completely poo-poo the masterminds because it did give me an opportunity to sit in the presence of a very intelligent human, and his wife as well was there. But I'm kind of looking at the same thing, what you're doing in coaching as well, and trying to lift the veil over the standardized coaching process and being adaptable. And we do that in our wellness center too. Blair, did you bring her up to speed on the wellness center? And
No, I talked to that you brought that up, but go ahead.
Yeah, so my wife has a wellness center, and we kind of started doing the same thing. So my wife has this autoimmune, hereditary, I don't even really know what to call it, but it's lipedema. And we started looking into solutions for that. And there is one person who's providing solutions in the LA area. And it has been tremendous to see the breakthrough with her. It's not just a physical thing, but it affects you physically. So then it starts breaking you down mentally, emotionally, spiritually, psychologically, all those things. And the difference, what I've seen, I don't know if you've seen it, Blair, but huge difference where my wife is at today comparatively. Yeah. And so to that point, we started this, I don't want to say medicine, but this functional wellness center, trying to adapt each individual problem, because I believe every individual has their own problems and their own set of solutions. So we're working with a medical director that does mineral testing, that does heavy metal testing, that does all the things, because her lipedema may have been triggered by something that she was eating in the past. Right. And maybe partially hereditary, but possibly she could have gone down the road and just accepted that fate and been overweight and mentally debilitated for the rest of her life if she hadn't stopped and asked the questions and been an advocate for herself. And the medical establishment is never and hasn't ever for the last 50 years in my book, ever asked that question. I'm now working to get off blood pressure medication. And for the first time, I was off blood pressure medication in 27 years because I listened to Dr. Mark Hyman's talk on blood pressure, and it may not be blood pressure issues. It may not be a hereditary thing. Just because my dad had it, just because my mom had it, just because somebody else had it, they may have not been utilizing the same thing that I am missing, right? And so it's not really hereditary. It's the fact that you're not getting the input that you need. I'm taking a pill called TMG, and it's dropped my blood pressure by 30%. And so
When I first started learning about functional medicine, it's kind of sold as like root cause. But this current doctor that I'm training under, he brought it to light in almost like what you're talking about. Functional medicine looks at how we function, how our specific body functions in the environment that we have been put into. It's, I can have genes, exactly what you're saying, but I'm in a different environment. I have different things to my daily life. And so let's look at possibility of exposures to mold. Let's look at my body's not breaking down, the MTHFR variant, I'm not breaking down things the way that I should. And there's little, like, we can turn on and off our genes, which is another thing I never realized. I thought if we're born with genes, we're born with genes, but we can make those changes. I mean, it's not a quick fix. And unfortunately, we are in a society that wants a quick fix. And that's why
You mean you just can't line up for a shot in the ass and it solves all your problems?
and life won't be solved. And
Right.
that's what I did for a long time, is I satisfied people's quick fixes. And I thought that was rewarding enough. But now it's like, I don't want to be the quick fixer. I want to really help people make the changes where they're not going to just survive, they're going to thrive, and really want to be a part of life.
I think you said something too, and we've talked about this a lot too, and I really love that part. We've become a society of quick fixes, right? It's like, oh, let's take this pill, let's take this shot, let's do these different things.
The easy button, buddy.
The easy button, right? We got to put some, and again, there's certain parts to it that help us will help us get started. Understand that, but to stay on them and use those as an everyday purpose, that's the scary part about it. Like, well, okay, I want you to take this for a month. And then there's sometimes people are like, well, okay, I took it for a month. I've got good results. I'm just going to stay on it forever, which is actually killing you on the inside. We don't see that. We remain sick. Or if we do come off it after 6, 7, 8 months, our body freaks out because now it's no longer used to producing what it's supposed to do by itself. So I love when I hear, obviously, Brent, what he's doing with the Wellness Center here, and then what you got coming up here with functional medicine. But this addiction society, this quick fix society, how are you getting through that? Because in society right now, is we have the RFKs, right, coming out to, we have this new administration of, let's look at some different alternatives instead of putting Band-Aid on Band-Aid. When you're having people come to you now, especially after your long career of being an addiction rehab specialist, putting Band-Aids on stuff, how are you like, I learned some stuff. I was right on some stuff, but I was wrong on some stuff. And I'm going ahead and I'm going to make that transition, and having people come in like, okay, thanks for exposing that. Thanks for being honest about this. Or are you getting doctors come, I'm asking you a lot of questions, but run with this and this stuff. It's like the hurdles that you had to get from where you were to where you are today, and then answering questions to people that you may have tried to help in the past, now saying, I messed up a little bit. Let's go this route.
It really starts with education. And I still have clients. I have this one. So I do I still do practice conventional psychiatry. And I was telling Blair earlier, I'm not against medications. I think there's a time and a place, and there's, people need medications, but I don't think they should be our first line of defense. Let's look at other areas in your life, and let's try this, and this. Yes, it's very chronic. And if we're not fixing it in a certain amount of time, or if somebody comes to me and they're, psychotic, I'm not going to give them a supplement. I might stabilize them with some medications and then say, okay, now that you're stable, let's look at some other areas. So it really is education. And so one of my hats that I wear right now is I do initial psych evals for this outpatient clinic in LA. And I had this girl come in, and she's getting her master's, and she knows more than I do. And, she didn't really want to listen to what I had to say. And she's anxious. She has an eating disorder, and she's suicidal. And I said, well, let's look at this. Like, with your eating disorder, you're probably not getting the nutrients that you need to help your mental health. So let's make some basic changes. And she goes, you are practicing witchcraft. Wow. I was like, listen, I get it. Not everybody's wants, I am not everybody's cup of tea. And if you don't really want to listen, and, I'm okay with that. So I educate, and I hope, as we get older, we realize we cannot help everyone, but we are put here to help the people that want our help. And so that's kind of just what I'm out here doing, is saying, hey, if you haven't been happy with the care you've received, if you think that there's bigger answers, if you want to try a more holistic route, like, I am the person you should work with.
I feel too that when you say those things too, the people, there's some sort of interest for them to even get to you, because you're not on the same path as a lot of other people. You are this alternative. So for people to come to you, like, I'm intrigued, but I'm really ready to wrap my mind around it. So when I hear people coming, like the story that you just said, basically, I come in here, I'm talking to you. Yes, I'm well educated, whatever, right? Something in what I'm doing right now to help me get better is not working. So they're looking to you for that magic antidote or that magic word to get them over the hump. So
I want the magic, but it's witchcraft. I want the magic, but it's witchcraft.
Yeah. I guess I sit there and say, how long do you pursue them? Or like, hey, I tried to help you, I'm done, good luck to you, and then hopefully you come back to me. Is there part of your mind that's like, I need to keep a leash on this person and just pull them back a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more, and you just let them fly?
Well, or do you just say they're not my people, right?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. And a conversation that we were having off camera was, how did I become the nurse or the nurse practitioner to celebrities? You don't really advertise. It was word of mouth. I helped one doctor who, then from helping that patient, I meet other people in the communities, and so they know. And that's the same with this. Perfect example is, I have this, I think she's probably 65-year-old that I was playing pickleball with one day. She said she had a little brain fog, and I said, you know what? Lithium orotate. Everybody should be on lithium orotate. It's an element, it's natural. Just try it. End of conversation. Yesterday, she was on the court next to me. There was 3 leaders playing, and she goes, Debbie. And I go, what? She goes, lithium orotate changed my world. And everybody looked at me and goes, what? And it started a conversation, and I booked 3 discovery calls.
Yeah.
Because that's how it's going to do. It's going to take somebody just, and I wasn't out there, marketing, with my logo on my shirt. It was just somebody across the court decided to yell across the court and tell me how this one supplement changed them.
Instead of got milk, got lithium.
Yeah. Everyone got lithium for sure.
Yeah. So, but great. That's what we're supposed to be doing on here. Where there's a purpose. Your purpose was kind of ripped away from you for a couple of years ago with some stuff that you went through with court cases and stuff like that, just by trying to help somebody out. But now you have this new unveiling, and you're doing some different things. You're I don't want to call you a naturopath, but just, as I said, you said functional medicine, right? You help this one lady, and how that spider webs into something else to go and do some different things. And so, it's not that you lost your purpose. I think your purpose was kind of covered up for a little bit, and now you got it back. And that's a hard part. And we talk about that a lot too. Sometimes is we may lose our way for a little bit, and it's something like that just gets unveiled, or we finally get to turn a corner, or one little seed that you chase the mastermind group. Like, why in the hell am I here? Probably the first day I'm sitting in the seat, these guys are saying weird shit.
Why did I spend this much money?
How in the hell is this going to help me get out there? It's like, I'm sure that when people listen to our podcast, they just say the same thing, and then they use one of our golden nuggets, and then all of a sudden, like, their life changes a little bit. But I just love to hear these things. That, are you helping eating disorders? Are you helping alcoholics? Are you helping people that have cancer? Is this a road that we're going down? We're having this new era of let's find some different things. And you said something too, is you're not against vaccines, but let's start looking at something else. If something's not working and we have this hereditary thing that's generation after generation, obviously something's not working. So how are you putting people at ease? Like, hey, we're going to go down this path, and it may take us a little bit of time to figure out where it really started. Blood test, Brent's really big into that. You're looking at blood panels, history, so on and so forth. how are you getting this information out of people that might feel a little bit protected? Like, I don't want to say too much because I feel like you might expose a bigger problem that I'm not really ready to go by.
I think it happens naturally, and that's with conventional medicine. You go in, you talk about a symptom, and then again medicate that symptom. And I did that in psychiatry. I looked just at medications. I again in this course that I'm taking yesterday, it's brilliant doctors, and we each have to bring our labs and analyze them in front of the whole class, look at all different options. And this lady brought in labs. She was a general medicine functional practitioner, and she was positive this patient had long haul COVID. Symptoms started during COVID. It was your fatigue, GI symptoms, brain fog. And she was coming in to show these labs and ask for advice on the protocol she was going to give for long haul COVID. And we all looked, and it wasn't long haul COVID. It was a 55-year-old male, very successful, high pressure job, had been going through some life events. And what happened was all this stress, all his neurotransmitters were blown. And so it was really a brain issue, not, another. And so if she would have gone off his symptoms, she would have traded him for long haul COVID. Looking at the labs, it was actually more neurotransmitters that needed. And it was severe stress that were causing these symptoms, not the COVID
part of it.
So that's it. I mean, this looks at you got to be open to it. And we just have to stop treating symptoms because they can be caused by so many different things.
Brent, with your wellness center too, this going along with what Debbie's saying on here, are you finding that with your wellness center too? People have kept going down the same path. I'm trying to fix it, and the easy button's not working, or everything that they've been doing for years and years and years, or generational, is just finding like, I've got to find something different. And even if this takes 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 months out of my life that's different from the past, I've got to try something. Are you finding more and more of that with your wellness centers? Because you're light therapy, cold plunges, blue methane, all that stuff.
Yeah. So not only that, but we're struggling to get past mainstream medicine. People will actually come in and they're getting results and reprieve from things that they've been struggling with for years by doing soft wave, by doing light therapy, by doing hyperbarics, by doing vibration therapy. And then for some reason, we had a client in the last couple of weeks came back to us and said, they keep giving me cortisone shots in my knee, and I don't feel good any better than what I did after about a week. But yet every time you do soft wave on my knee, it's better. Okay, so what's the impasse? The impasse is the system's built to accept the fact that cortisone shots work for a small percentage of the community. And so the insurance will pay for the cortisone shot and keep throwing that at it, but they won't pay for soft wave. And so these people are struggling because insurance won't pay for it. They don't have the necessary funds to keep going down that road, but yet they're getting results. But mainstream is telling them, keep doing this, and we promise it'll get better. It gets better in like 18%, right? But they don't give them that percentage. They don't give them the education up front that this only solves 18% of the issues. We also see it in peptides. We're doing peptide therapy. They don't seem to recognize peptide therapy as an option. They don't seem to recognize hyperbaric as an option. We had a doctor tell a client, I don't know anything about hyperbaric, so therefore I can't give you a recommendation to do hyperbarics. They're in stage 4 cancer. What do they have to lose? Just their life. That's it. And the mainstream medical society is not looking at options. I mean, if you really look, so our bodies stop producing human growth hormone somewhere between 25 and 35. Do we want to add a human growth hormone to it? Probably not in a synthetic form, but we could add a peptide that will trigger your body to produce its own natural human growth hormone that will solve a lot of issues, but it doesn't solve it fast enough. We, again, are used to hitting the easy button, right? And so typically, well, I'm not getting results today. So no different than BPC 157 and TB 500. We have a couple of clients that are on it. I've been taking it for a month and it's not doing anything. Well, is it really not doing anything, or do you not need that? Right? Go get your labs. Here's a link. Well, I don't like needles. Well, I don't. But yet they'll go to the doctor and they'll get the shot in the ass solution instead of really looking at what could solve the problem. I, for instance, have a copper deficiency. So that copper deficiency, between that and the TMG, is solving my blood pressure issues. Had I not gotten that blood test, I wouldn't have been able to start injecting and upping my copper intake, which is now lowering my blood pressure, and it's now lowering my heart rate. My regular medical director took me off copper because she was wondering if it was affecting my kidney function and wanted to make sure it wasn't. In the last 2 weeks that I haven't been on copper, my resting heart rate won't drop below 75. Next week, when I get my blood test, I guarantee you I'm going to be deficient in copper again, and my heart rate will drop to 62 or below on an average resting heart rate because I'm taking copper. And so I don't know that the regular medical community is ready for the information. They're not willing to uptake the information because there's not enough case studies. They're afraid of the backlash. In Oregon, now all doctors for the last 4 years, have a personal liability. So these doctors are mass exiting anything that is not FDA approved, and they're worried about their licensing. They're worried about all these things. Have you been ostracized by the medical community for the things that you're trying to change?
No, I wouldn't say ostracized, but we had this conversation, and I had to step back and well, there's two things you said. Yes, liability. When I make my full transition, I will not be using my NP license.
Okay.
I'm not prescribing medications. I actually will be now with these functional medicine labs. It's fantastic. I don't even have to use my license to read them. You can pay like an extra $18 per lab and order them in another state even. And then there's a doctor that reviews and puts them in. I have the knowledge, I can do it, but I don't have to put my license online with functional medicine. But the insurance thing, it is scary because, well, if insurance doesn't cover it, it's why.
Right.
And we were starting to have this conversation right when we started. It's because who makes all the money here? Big pharma from prescriptions and insurance companies by keeping you in the system. And if we start to find natural solutions, they're going to take a hit. And so there's no advertisement, there's no education, there's no backing of big companies. And it's just, I feel like it's not the norm, the society. They don't want this to be part of
Brent and I feel that they're, especially when we got onto these type of topics, that they're keeping everybody at a mental illness or a physical illness of some sort to not let you get better. They don't want us to be better. The better that we are, the less that we need them. And that's what you're trying to do. That's what we try to do every week on here, is just give little tidbits. You're going at a whole deeper level, peeling back the onion, finding out what's in your gut, what's in your brain, what is your history, and doing stuff. And that's why I think it's a little bit, why you get so much. We've been raised, right? Take this pill, do this stuff. And I know that we've said this a couple of times and stuff. But how do we duplicate you in this world, which we need so much more of, is to not only put your knowledge and your wisdom and your compassion and your caring to let's solve the problem instead of
really the question
years of putting the Band-Aid on, right? Putting the Band-Aid on. We're going to get better. So,
I think it's happening naturally. I mean, again, this isn't practitioners' fault.
No.
This is how I was trained. This is how, if you go to medical school, you're trained.
Right.
So it's not so much, being ostracized by the medical field, because again, we all are trained. We all have, one mentality is we want to help. We went in there to help, and we believe this is what's helping. Like I felt I was helping for 16 years. More providers, insurance companies are changing. They're getting fed up because they can't even do what they want to do because insurance won't cover it. They're getting burnt out themselves, having to see 20 patients a day now to pay their rent, their lease, to keep their medical practice up. As a profession, we are getting burnt out and we're looking for other alternatives. And I think we're naturally going to find our way like I did. And, if you really want to continue helping and care, it's going to be a natural transition.
So I'm going to shift gears here. Same thing that is, because I'm really excited about this. We talked about this in the pre-interview, which we're doing on here. There's a big issue that we have with our medical staff, our EMTs, our police, our guys that are fighting overseas or fighting here on their way to it. But we have a big PTSD problem. Massive amounts of medication goes into this, massive amounts of antidepressants that really are not helping the issue. And you are starting to find a way that there may be other answers to how this PTSD actually even came to fruition in the first place. So let's touch on that, because that's massively intriguing with this. I think that it leads, obviously PTSD leads into massive depression, makes into, which Brent and I have some people, some friends and family that have taken a different option. And we have a mutual friend that unfortunately had the depression was so much they took their own lives. And that's very prevalent in males, right? And so how do we start, like, okay, here's the symptoms of this PTSD. If it's whatever, it could be financial, it could just be work stuff. What are you finding as you continue this chasing down this alley of finding that it's actually could be in your gut to get this stuff done? Is that what you're finding now?
Well, it's your whole nervous system.
Yeah.
I trained under a psychiatrist once, and she started to explain to me PTSD as a Lego. And she said, the first symptom or the first event that you experience, it's like one little Lego on the ground and you step on it and it hurts, but you get over it.
Right.
But then you keep building, each trauma is another Lego that gets built. And all of a sudden you step on it and your whole life shatters. You just can't tolerate anymore. And that's what our first responders are experiencing. And another therapist yesterday, her son is starting to be a firefighter. So she's looking into this. And she told me some crazy statistic, like the average human being goes through maybe 4 major traumas in their life. Our first responders are more like 400, what they see on a daily basis.
A day average. Yeah.
And so our body gets into this constant fight or flight, which our sympathetic nervous system is always heightened. And when you do that, you're burning out your adrenals, your cortisol levels, and then so it affects your mental health. Yes, there's a medication, Prazosin, that helps with PTSD, and we can give it, and it helps with the night terrors, but that doesn't reset your nervous system. So, all the stuff like Brent's doing in his wellness center, you really need to reset that nervous system. So you got to find what your body's deficient in. You need to do, your cold plunges and your saunas and your, anything that can actually help too. Because a lot of these guys, right now I'm working with hardcore sergeants, firefighters, chief of police, and they're like, how did this happen? I'm Mr. Tough Guy. And now I'm on my way to work and I'm pulling over and bawling in a park because I can't, or I'm going home and I'm a dick to my wife, the minute she says something, because I'm in that sympathetic fight or flight system. Like my body now doesn't know how to turn it down.
Most of them drink or smoke massive amounts of weed to try to cope on their days off and things like that. We've seen
binge drinking is huge.
We've done a bunch of counseling with first responders through the wellness center. My wife's a certified life coach, so she does that type of a thing as well. And we've seen it. And it's funny because, again, you can show them all the signs and tell them how to get better, but it's still a choice, right? They still have to make that choice.
And unfortunately, they don't make the choice until they don't have another option. They feel like life is burnt out, where if they know, I had to take care of myself and I should be doing these things on my day off. And I have one really big guy who, I can't remember, I think he was a sergeant in child sex crimes. You think of the things that he had to see at work every day. And he came into this wellness IOP and went to yoga. And he's like, never did I think that I would be doing yoga. And he's like, first of all, that one class changed my mind. But second of all, being in a room of other people who are going through what I'm going through, knowing that I'm still a man, even if I don't feel like a tough guy, like I slept better that night than I'd slept in 15.
Do you find it hard? Did you see, I mean, because you've been on both sides of the stuff, do you feel that a male's shell, if you may, or we call them, we say males are in a silo and because they don't want to see any dents in their armor. Do you feel like they're a tougher nail to crack, or do you feel that the women's silo, if they get into one or shell, whatever you want to call it, is tougher? What are you finding? What's the hardest nut to crack, the males or the females, or is it depending on the sickness?
Unfortunately, they come to me when they're already cracked.
Okay.
So I would say I treat more women, probably because of exactly what you're saying. In this specific IOP profession, I've admitted 1 woman in 20 men. So, but that's the first responders. There's probably more male in those fields. But, we do talk about it a lot. And I'm sure, have you read the masks we wear or the 4 masks and how, men have to have that mask that they hide behind. So again, I think functional medicine and functional psychiatry can change that, because it's not, you're not strong. It's not that you have something wrong with your mental health. It's your body's breaking down, and we just need to fix that. And I think it will really take away a lot of the stigma to know that there's something actually physically going on with you that are causing these mental symptoms, rather than just, I'm weak, I'm anxious, I'm depressed, because nobody wants to be that vulnerable. But if you're taught, no, that this isn't you, this is something within your body that we can fix, more people hopefully reach out for that type of thing.
I hope that you guys go back. The guys are watching this, and now when we get this out here, I hope that you go back and listen to that last 2-3 minutes of what she just said, because Brent and I have hit this over and over and over again, is that it's okay to be vulnerable, especially if you just can't figure out what the hell is going on. I'm taking this medication, I'm still not better, or I'm doing this one, or I'm doing something. We are in a massive belief, and I think that you are this, we're all created different. We all have different DNA. We all have different blood cells, all those different things. There's not one of us, even though we have common threads, we're all completely different. So finding that niche, no matter how long it's been down the family trail or generations, whatever that may be, if it's not working or it's not getting the results that you want anymore, it's okay to be vulnerable to stuff. You're not going to go out there and put them on a poster and say, well, Billy did this and this and this and this, and oh my God, we saved his life. No, you're going in there. Let's treat the actual symptom. And it may not, but the PTSD thing, I think it is so overlooked in this world, especially right now. The massive tensions that we have as males or females or any people that are in business or in relationships or stuff is like, well, this is who I am, blah, 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 blah. And no one's fixing the issue. And it's getting worse. People are making life-changing decisions that are so catastrophic to the people that are around them afterwards or during stuff, that we've got to find a different way, and we can't put a pill on it anymore. I think that you're in that way too. I know Brent and I are this way. Is the easy button, it has to quit. If you're listening to these guys, you watch TV and it's like, okay, we got this medication, and you listen to all the side effects to it. That scares me more than wanting to take it. So now I don't take anything because I'm scared.
Or
of the
you have
effects.
A side effect and they give you something for your side effect. So now you're taking more.
Which has 97 more side effects,
yeah.
right?
I call it all the time.
I call it the Roadrunner analogy. It's, you ever watch the Roadrunner when you're a kid and he keeps going and he sees the stop sign and it says stop, and he keeps going and it says bridge out ahead, and he keeps going and it says no, seriously, really stop, and he keeps going and it says no, now it's too late to stop, and yet he finds himself over the cliff and then he drops out, right? And that's what's happening with a lot of these folks' lives, is that there's no prevention. It's the stop signs and the road signs that you see that everybody's just ignoring. Do you feel that's probably appropriate?
I mean, it's Yes, exactly. And again, you asked which is harder to crack, and I said I usually already get them when they're cracked. That's another big thing that I'm starting to practice. And I have a blog, and every week I try to take something that happened during that week and turn it relevant into mental health. And the other day, Leaf is my tennis coach, and we were doing this clinic, and he said, clinics are like, they're that old school when you used to put a record, and you record, and you record your strokes and your this foot, and your timing. He goes, because when you get in a match, you don't think. And that's when you hit the play button and you just play everything that you have recorded. And so I turned that into, I was driving home and I go, oh my gosh, I just learned a mental health lesson from my tennis coach, because that's what life is about. If we just expect to know what to do when shit hits the fan, we're in that fight or flight. We're not going to do it. So we have to, accept that, let's get the help even when we're healthy or before we break down. So we have those tools. Our systems are built up. We have the nutrients in our body. So when we get financial difficulty or a change in career or a breakup, we are prepared for that. And if we can start just doing a little more preparation, we don't have to wait till we're broken.
Yeah, the paradigm shift on this over the last couple of months, and really actually the last couple of years, has been going on for it's been phenomenal. I mean, I love what Brent's doing with the wellness center. You have
correction. It's my wife's wellness center, Blair. You're going to get me in trouble again, buddy.
April, you just got to get on the mic more often. So I stop calling Brent's thing. He's got bustedtees.com. You've got the wellness center. We would go whatever. So anyway, but now you've got this transitioning out of this years of being, I know I'm not using the right term, I'm going to say, but addiction specialist, helping people get through addiction and all this stuff, right? So now we're like, okay, I don't want to be the Band-Aid anymore. I want to be the antidote. And that's really what I see that you becoming. Everything I'm hearing, you're saying, I am now the antidote. I'm going to, it takes two, but I'm going to fix the problem. And we're going to do this, and we're going to stop the generational curses. We're going to stop this generational, my dad tried this or my mom tried this. We're actually going to make you, which we do, the power of one more, right? You're going to be the one. You are the one right now in this world, sitting in this chair. You're the one to change, be a part of it, to change everything. They've picked you, Deb Bennett, to change the world. And I'm super stoked that we have her on here. But now you've got this new office that's coming around. Everything that you know for 16 years is changing every day, every second, every minute. There's going to be something on this podcast that you're going to watch and you're like, oh my God, that's just something just clicked. So tell us about this new office that you're coming in. What your specialty is going to be in there. So how do we get that word out to, like, there are alternatives instead of taking the drugs that are constantly being prescribed just to mask a problem instead of fix the problem?
So yes, I have a new office on El Paseo I'm very excited about. The good thing with functional medicine is, though, I can see you on site in my office locally. And I love it. Every therapist, every person I've talked to and told what I'm doing, they're already sending me clients. And of course, they're sending me their most difficult ones. So I'm like, start out simple, but I'll be able to do it virtually because it's not prescribing, like I was saying. And this is the catch, and I hope people understand this isn't a quick fix. Like we were saying, I'm not your typical provider where you can come in, it's a pay per visit. I'm going to tell you what to do and hope you come back, because that is not the way this works. So when working with me, you have to make a commitment, and it's a 3, 4, or 6 month commitment, depending on what we decide you need. It can start out where just like, hey, I'm burnt out, I'm exhausted, I'm not sleeping at night, I went through. Then I have our kind of level 1. These are certain markers. Let's do this. It's a one-time payment to work for these 3 or 4 months. What that includes are your labs, your initial intake, your labs, your lab analysis, your supplement plan, your lifestyle plan, your nutritional plan, which I have an amazing program that you can, like, say we want to put you on a Mediterranean diet to help with inflammation. You can tell me your likes, dislikes. I put it all in, and it, caters it to you. So you get all of those plans and weekly follow-ups. And then the next one is you get all of that, but this is for somebody who's like, you know what? It's more than I'm just off. I am anxious. I am depressed. I am having these symptoms. well, then we need to look at a few more biomarkers and a few more, labs. And so it's a deeper dive and you get a little more. And then my third tier is, you know what? I've been there. I've done it. I've tried multiple medications. I've detoxed. I've done this, and I still know something's off. So that's more of a 6-month program. And everybody's kind of telling me you shouldn't do that. People aren't going to pay up front. Well, then that's not the client that's going to make the commitment that I know I can help. So it's a commitment on my patient's part. And I know that there's going to be enough people there that want to, really change.
Yeah. And I love that you guys talked about this earlier too. This is that there has to be a commitment on your side, right? You can't just say, okay, well, I can do this, this, and this for you. This is your life. And it's not only your life, there could be a spouse, they may be providing for a spouse, man or side to it, or providing for kids or whatever, to be a teacher, be a firefighter. And I think that's, again, if what I'm coming into or trying to explain here, guys, when you're watching this or you're hearing this podcast, whatever to it is, Brent and I, and obviously Deb Bennett here, believe that everyone has a purpose. And sometimes that purpose gets suffocated because of life trauma, bad decisions, something that failed that didn't work. But we truly believe that you have a purpose. What we do on this podcast is try to unveil this purpose. What Deb is doing here is taking a different alternative instead of, again, I know that we've repeated this over, so I really want you guys to hear this. And if it's not you, give it to somebody that you know, because we know that you know somebody out there that is struggling bad too. It could be diet-wise, it could be PTSD. Eating disorders are massive right now. It was, body positive for a second. Now I see all this stuff too now is to body shaming. And so all these people are trying to lose massive amounts of weight, which is horribly
the Ozempic problem, right?
Let's find what the issue is and let's start making the change. Is it expensive? Is it? Yes and no, right? What's a price on our life at the end of the day? And hopefully that we can, what you're doing, what Brent's doing. I know that there's other people out there, the doctors that are training you and stuff. Hopefully that over the next couple months, weeks, months, and years, that we get insurance companies to really look at this, because premiums could start going down because people are starting to get in healthy, right? Is that what your hope is with all of this? And do you have a window of, gosh, in 2 years, I want to see this, or 3 years, I have this, or is it like every day is today and I'm going to focus on today and go from there?
And I would love insurance companies to cover this. And I do see a little bit of a change. My mind's blank right now, but what is it when you put a certain money aside for that you can use for healthcare?
HSA, FSA.
Yeah. You can use your HSA for functional medicine now. So there is a way that, we are starting to see, and again, I want to help. And if somebody comes in and goes, I want to commit, let's set up a payment plan. Let's do this. Like, I will work. And I think a lot of providers do that. When we get people that really want to make the change, we're willing to help them. So I think in time, we'll get there, but it's, again, everybody's like, well, AI is going to cure me. And, this person's going to cure me. It's like, no, we're still need the personal touch. And, we're
humans are supposed to be together and they're not being built by machines. And that's a well-known fact. And if you don't know that, look that up too. That's why we have babies and do different things. And we have to have human connection. No matter where AI goes, we have to have human connection. AI is not going to fix anything. I think it's actually going to become a detriment to a certain point, but that's a whole different subject.
We've done that before.
Yeah, we've done that. We go down that path. So again, coming to, do you have a special niche, or is this anybody that's having an issue that no longer, they're just not getting the results in this stuff? Or is there something that you're really concentrating on right now? I want to help this group of people, or is it just all come and let's figure it out?
Yeah. How do we get somebody to you if they?
Yeah, that's what.
If we feel they might have a
niche
need.
really is, a high functioning professional that's suffering from anxiety, depression, or newly sober and wants to really look at what the substance use has done to their body. Again, I'm huge into functional medicine, functional psychiatry. I'm 2 years into this transition. The doctor I'm training under, he goes, you don't really know what you're doing for 20 years. I'm like, way to disappoint me. And again, do I, schizophrenic, bipolar, I still am traditional. You need your medications. We need, we can't have everybody just going off meds, trying this right away. So right now I want to focus on the knowing what I can do and knowing who I can help. And I know if you suffer from anxiety, depression, cravings, insomnia, PTSD, there's definitely lifestyle protocol, changes we can make based on what your labs are going to show us. So that's my focus right now.
Okay. Any final words for you, buddy?
Yeah, I know we went long, but I want to be a little bit selfish here.
Yeah.
For a minute, personal question. Are all addictions bad? And where I'm going with this is, like, I probably am a reasonable case study for this. I have taken, and I quit drinking alcohol a number of years ago when my son brought me a beer on a Saturday morning. We've had that conversation on this podcast, but I just took that. I don't want to say it was an addiction. It was more of a habit, because I don't believe I was truly addicted to the alcohol part. I was just a habit of drinking every night for no reason. I couldn't even formulate the reason. But I took that and changed it into an addiction of work, or an addiction of, it's a replacement thing. Are those replacements bad? And even if they serve us in a positive way?
I just did a blog post on this actually. And it was,
Sweet.
Is it a healthy habit, an addiction, or God, I forget the third one, but it's what do you get from it? And it goes all back to the dopamine rush. Are you,
100%.
and is it truly healthy, or are you working too much, and is it taking away from your family time? Is it taking away from your workout, your balance? Only you can answer that. Like, addictions are going to ruin you, but so can working too much. If it's stress, it can burn out your cortisol. If you're not working out in between, if you're not balancing and spending the time with your family. So just a simple yes or no, I can't give you. We'd really have to sit down and go, well, are you avoiding something? And is that why you're working so much? Are you working so much? Is it taking away from your personal life? And just like functional psychiatry, we'd have to dig a little more into your background before I can answer that.
That's where I wanted you to go with that. That was the key point, the golden nugget of the whole thing is, we can't do this on our own, guys. We have to get help. We have to get somebody asking a different set of questions than you're asking yourself. It's no different than what I do in coaching. I'm just a mirror. All I'm doing is reflecting on the things that you're giving me to reflect on. I think that's what you're saying.
And what's healthy for someone is not healthy for someone else. So again, it's just not
Correct.
Exactly what you're saying. It's not black and white. We need to look at what we're doing, why we're doing it, and how it's affecting ourselves and others. And it's a bigger picture than just, yes, this is a habit. Yes, this is an addiction.
That's a rewind moment, guys, by the way. That's a big rewind.
Yeah. I'm so glad you're here.
And me.
Yeah.
Likewise.
And you get special moments in life that you get surrounded by special people. And, you hear Brent and I, we're 127 episodes into this today, and she gets to be a part of this. And we've had really special guests on here from just different walks of life and had different subjects. Today should be really monumental to you because of where we are with society, with, the pitting in against each other. We talked about it the last 2 weeks. Are you addicted to losing? Well, we're starting to give you guys antidotes to not be in that loss category anymore. Is it okay to have a loss? Yes, but let's learn from it. And that's where she's coming into. She's obviously talking a lot different than Brent and I have talked about in the past, but she's now has this antidote that, yes, we understand that you've had these losses over and over and over again. I'm going to help you start making a couple of those L's, which we call losses, right? Losses, L's, and turn them into W's. And we start chipping away, and we have more W's in our life to help us get better. And then what she is doing, which we've also talked about too, is she's going to engage, she's going to equip, and then she's also going to empower you to go ahead and help others, or at least get the people that you're trying to help with back to her, and then work together to do this stuff. So it's really a big spider web thing. So I'm glad that we finally got this opportunity. Yes, and I know I said this before, that we're going to have you back. But again, one more time, is tell us about your studio, that it's not your office, not a studio, but where are you going to be? When does that start? How can I find you? And then what else do you ever go ahead and promote yourself?
Oh, well, thanks. Yeah. First, I was like, wait, why do you want me on Old Men Rock?
We actually have
I
mostly
was
chicks.
supposed to come on first, actually, and somehow I ended up on before him. So, okay, my office. So yes, my company's name is Mend It Wellness. My website is menditwellness.com, which was supposed to be done a few weeks ago, but technology, it's still, there's a landing page now, which the landing page mainly talks about substance use, but I'm transitioning it into, it will explain my programs and what you have. At mendiswellness.com, you will be able to book a discovery call, which I do offer 15-minute free discovery call. Like, which program would you fit into? Is this the right fit for you? And then also, I do have a blog on Substack. It's called Mend the Mind. And for my free subscribers, every week it's education. It's something to do with mental health, substance use, supplements. But I bring in, like I was saying, what I learned on the tennis court, or I had one that was called charcuterie boards and constipation, and it's how I felt like every party we have, somebody's talking about their bowel movements and, how can we become regular? So I bring in a little bit of daily life. And then for my paid subscribers, you actually get protocols, supplement recommendation in little bits and pieces of what you would get if you were a one-on-one client with mine.
So there you go.
So yeah, mendthemind.com, mend the mind on Substack, and menditwellness.com.
Okay. Podcast coming soon.
Podcast coming soon with my sister and I. Yeah. And it's going to be called Curiously Addicted.
Perfect. That's what we need. This is why we love what we do, man. I mean, I know I've said this a lot, but boy, oh boy, what a special opportunity that we had today. And that's going to be coming back to us more and more in the future. But this is why we do it. As I said Brent and I come out here every week and spend a lot of time behind the scenes getting this out to you, is because we get to have people like this to help you guys get better. So I think I already had your final thoughts. Did I give you your final thoughts yet, buddy? I can't remember.
Yeah. And just as always, go make a damn difference for yourself, for your community, and for yourself.
All right, guys, we're going to send all of her links, everything that she's attached to out there, to search her out. If you have a question, obviously you can go ahead and reach out to Brent and I. But again, we'll have her contact information on there. Reach out to this. Just at least scratch the surface. At least scratch the surface. I love this 15-minute kind of, let's just figure it out. Maybe it's a fit for you. Maybe it's not. But you're never going to know until you try. And nothing else. I'm pretty positive saying that if you get to that spot, something's not working. So break down the barriers, get over it, figure it out. No one's going to know that you asked the question anyway, and then hopefully it gets you better. So I can't say this enough. Thank you so much. Super grateful for you.
Thank you very much.
All right, man. Guys, well, have a great week. Cannot wait to get this episode out, man. I'm telling you, have a great week. But until we see each other next week, guys, stay safe. And most of all, God bless.